Hey, I'm Italia Oliver, and today I am going to share with you a channeling I did a few years back with Morenae, a star being from Andromeda, who was in my first video channeling star beings. And he's going to be sharing with you information about the continent of Lemuria. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time, please hit that subscribe button down below and the bell notification so that you get notified of the latest videos. They come out every Sunday. So you might remember Morenae from my first video, channeling star beings. And Morenae was the first star being that actually ever contacted me a few years back. He is from Andromeda, and he is very much about like justice and peace and the law and all of that. And so he first came through to me a few years back, and I asked him, well, how do I know it's you? Because he had told me that he enjoyed painting. He loved doing oil paintings of lighthouses. And my husband and I, we were on this road trip from Tucson to Yuma in Arizona. And when we got in this, he was telling me this before we had gotten to Yuma. We ended up at this like Cracker Barrel, this restaurant, the Cracker Barrel. And the first thing that I saw when I first walked into the place was this lighthouse painting, because I had just was talking to Morenae about maybe the hour before that, and I said, well, how do I know you're real? How do I know it's true? You know, and then I get this sign when I walk in, there's this lighthouse painting for sale. So it was pretty, you know, surprising, but not so surprising, because that's how spirit will work with you when you trust and when you believe and know that it's there. So anyway, this was one of the first channelings I'm sharing with you, one of the first channelings that I had done with him. And my husband is interviewing me and asking about Lemuria. So I hope you enjoy learning about Lemuria from Morenae's point of view. Yes, we spent our time together in Lemuria. Mm-hmm.
Were you students together at a school or teachers?
We were both. I knew her in that lifetime. I knew her from when she was actually younger, around, as you would say in your earth years, 8. But we knew each other, and we went to school together, and we became teachers together. So we knew each other in that lifetime.
Was there a specific subject you were teaching together?
We were teaching soul progression is what we were teaching. We were teaching transformational awareness, transformational, as you might say, more spiritual awareness, as you might say, on your planet, but more things of the soul natured and consciousness and awakeness.
Is this similar to the things she's writing about now?
It is. She is including some of that work from her long ago into her work now. It is part of her being. She is writing to express what she has learned over lifetimes to achieve.
Were there other beings with you? Did you have like a group of friends that you all?
Yes, there was a group of teachers. I'd see if I can try to say the name for her. She's going to try to say the Annalesian, sort of like alliance, but it's in a different way.
So this is a group of beings that were teachers in Lemuria at this
Yes.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Was this a large group or just a smaller group?
About 10, I would say,
And
that we were. Mm-hmm.
How large were the classrooms, or how many people did you teach at one time?
We could teach many people at one time. It would be similar to your colleges that, you know, we would be able to teach in a large place, and we would also send energy to each other as well.
Remember, we were advanced beings, and we also sent energy out to each other too.
What type of energy were you sending?
Love.
Did you use anything like textbooks or physical books that we'd understand here?
Mm, books, yes, there were books, but a lot of things were done telepathically as well.
Is there anyone famous in Lemuria that you taught about? Like here we have leaders and people in history that we teach other people about. Is there anybody on Lemuria that you taught as a role model or a symbol for spiritual consciousness?
The name comes to mind, but it is not maybe how you would say it in the language of then. Closest probably come to my mind is Arthur Stanwyck.
He was a famous Lemurian.
Yes, he was a famous. He was our mentor. He was the. You might say alliance in your language, but closer would be Elysion. He was the head representative or council person, you might say, or dean, whatever that is what you might say on your planet.
So he was the person you were learning from and teaching others his philosophies, correct?
Yes.
Did you have anything there like media? Like screens, like television we have here or anything like that to help teach?
Oh, yes, yes. We have all advanced technology. We had different types of screens that moved that you could watch people from other places, and we had things that might seem magical to you in your world today, but ways that we could learn, different ways of learning that people would. I'm trying to show Italia like different types of. There was this, as you might say, osmosis, where people could learn through osmosis just by touching something. They could learn all the properties of something. Say a rock, they would learn all the compounds that made up the rock by touching it.
It's amazing. Was there any other kind of teaching tools that Italia especially liked to use?
I'm showing her something in her mind that looks something like a ruler or sort of like a laser pointer, like some sort of pointer. And that pointer, laser pointer, although you have something similar to that today in your world.
You were both light beings at this time, was that correct? You didn't need a physical form.
No, we did not need a physical form. We could have a physical form, but we didn't need one, no.
Did you ever use your physical form back in those days?
Oh, yes, yes. We wanted to enjoy the, I guess, pleasures or the feelings that you get in the physical form that you do not get in your light body.
If you could indulge us, what did Italia look like in this physical form back in Lemuria?
I'm showing her a picture right now. She was female at that time, and she is dressed in white long robes with long dark hair, but her hair is parted in the middle. And she has blue eyes, and yes, very beautiful.
And what about you? What was your physical form like back then?
My physical form is similar to what I am now, tall, my blue eyes, and my hair was blonde, but taller on top blonde. It was not, I did not have long hair in those days.
How tall were you in the physical form?
I was 7 feet tall.
Was she also this tall?
She was 6'5".
Hmm. Why were the beings taller than they are now? Why were they taller in those
I
days?
do not know. That is just how they would be.
I see. So there was no physical, what type of a physical building where you taught? Was that also in the physical, like a stadium or a...
Yes, those could be in the physical too. Yeah. More building, not so much stadium, more temple-like.
Were these buildings made of crystals or were they made of granite?
Oh yes, we have lots of crystal, lots of crystalline quartz, lots of. I'm showing her now. There were buildings that were made out of like stone and rock and granite and such, but there were also buildings that were very healing and very. Those were our like we call them sanctuaries, where they were. Like you would go down and lay down on a bed of crystal. Very healing.
What about traveling in the physical form? Did you have air technology, vehicle technology, hovercraft?
When we travel, we would walk like normal people would do. We would walk or run. But yes, there were vehicles that could take you from one place to the other in the air if you so chose.
Were these saucer-shaped transport vehicles?
More triangular shaped for ours, but yes, in that idea.
Did you need to know how to pilot these vehicles and
Yes,
be trained
you
in
learn
that?
how to pilot them, yes.
What about water technology, water vehicles? Did you have boats?
Yes, if that was needed. There were boats similar where they would go underwater as well.
In your physical form, did you also like going underwater a lot and swimming?
Yes, we did enjoy going into the water. That was one of the activities that we did enjoy. We would also play games in the water as well. We did enjoy that.
Did you have to hold your breath, or were you able to just exist in the water as well as on land?
No, we didn't need to hold our breath. We just were able to exist. Greetings. It is I, Morenae, son of Leonese, Andromedan of the fifth dimension. How may I assist you?
Hi, Mornay. Thank you for joining us again. We really appreciate it. When we talked yesterday, you talked about Lemuria. This is a society we'd like to really learn more about if we can. How many years ago did Lemuria exist? Was this before the time of Atlantis?
Yes, indeed it was. Lemuria existed about 75,000 years ago.
And the part of Earth in which the landmass was, what do we know it as now?
Today you know it as in your Pacific Ocean area, the areas of Madagascar and New Zealand and India and Southeastern Asia, Hawaii. All of those areas are considered part of Lemuria. Some even stretch up into California to British Columbia, but that is the area in which Lemuria was. It was a large land mass.
And this was before the time of Atlantis?
There was a time when it was concurrent, but Lemuria was preceding Atlantis, yes.
And in your lifetime, in Italia's lifetime there, how many years did you spend on Lemuria?
We spent 50 Earth years there.
And just jumping ahead, what was that? How did that civilization come to an end?
Lemuria was a land of plenty, was a land of vastness, a land that was plentiful. But we suffered a cataclysmic event that made this submerge under the water. But itself, the land did not move. It was the sea levels that rose that made that happen, and the destruction of our land. The volcanic eruptions as well, causing mass flooding throughout our land.
So throughout your 50 years on Lemuria, were you a teacher during that entire time?
Yes, we were not in the flood.
Where did you go before it flooded?
We were above the land at the time. Some went underground, but we were above the land at that time. This was, Lemuria existed for thousands of years
So
before the flooding.
you weren't around for the flooding?
No, I was not.
And as your years as a teacher, could you tell us more about the teachings of, I think you said Arthur Stanwyck was the man?
Yes, just that is the closest name I could think of to the name of the teacher that would be in our language that we could not say in your language.
And what was the overall theme of his teachings?
The overall teachings were many things. Of Arthur Stanwyck, you mean? Yes. His was about the oneness of all and your consciousness and how to raise your vibration and promote love to others. I talked yesterday about the electromagnetic force. There was much teaching about electromagnetic force as well. And we worked on many experiments and projects. We also did social experiments as well in our population to learn about one another.
Do you remember any specific social experiment that we might find interesting?
I'm showing Italia food. Like there was one we remember about doing just food and how food, the type of food that we ate, how it was ingested in the body and what people's reactions were to different types of food and how food brought people together.
What types of food existed back in those days?
Ours was a very, we were rich in agriculture and farming, and we lived off the land, so very plant-based.
Did you eat meat?
No, I did not eat meat.
Did you drink the water?
Yes, we drank the water. The salt is good for you.
What about animal life there? Was it different in those days? Different than what we have now?
Yes, the animals were different. They were not the same. Just as you have evolved, so have animals. There were different types of animals on our land. Some with more oceanic type breathing capacities. Instead of breathing with lungs, they breathe through their skin, things like that.
And any animals we would know of in this day, or would they all look different? And
the birds were very similar still to the birds that you have today. These birds had larger beaks and larger wingspans, though, than yours of today that fly around your neighborhoods.
What about dogs and cats? And did people have pets?
Yes, people had animals as pets. They like to communicate with the animals and enjoy their company much like you do, yes.
And they were similar in look and size of today's animals, today's dogs?
No, they were different in size. Some were larger than your dogs today, but they were part of our civilization. We lived with the animals in our oneness.
So there were no churches or anything like that, correct?
There was no need for churches, no.
How many different schools were on Lemuria?
I do not know the exact number of schools. I know that there were many, but as to the exact number, I do not know that.
What about traveling to other parts of the earth at that time? Did you travel from Lemuria to Atlantis or different parts of the hemisphere that Lemuria was on, or did you mainly just stay on Lemuria?
No, I only stayed on Lemuria. I did not travel, although there were there were at one point mass migrations, but I was not part of that.
What other parts of the earth were around during that time? Were there names for other parts of the earth where people would journey to?
Not at the time that I lived, no. It was just Lemuria.
Is this around the time of dinosaurs? There weren't any dinosaurs then, were there?
Not on Lemuria.
I see. Back to the Arthur Stanwyck. Was there any other famous people of your time that you admired or looked up to?
The name coming to me, Constance Valdez. Constant Valdez. That would be the closest you would say in your language. Constance Valdez. Valdez, Valdez, something like that.
Was she a philosopher as well?
No, she was not. She was the librarian who was in charge of keeping of the books and the records.
Was this library one central library that the Lemurians would go to?
Yes, there was library, and there were other libraries in Lemuria as well. But she was the main librarian, you could say the head of all the libraries. She was the keeper of the books and keeper of the records. And she would oversee what books were being written and what were being shared and what the logistics, as you might say, of the library.
So do these books need to exist in a physical form, or could you touch a book and know what's inside of it without actually reading it?
I am showing Italia. It is like a light. The books, there were some physical books that were written by the people when they chose to be in that form and they wanted to write or put things onto stone as well, or drawings. There were those, but there were also books like that contained knowledge that was brought through our minds into an energy body. And in the energy body, you would transfer your thoughts into this energy body, which would be the book. So it would be a glowing light body book, as you might say.
Were these fiction type books, or more books about history and those kinds of subjects?
They covered many, many topics, just like your libraries do. They covered philosophy, the nature of reality, people, relationships. They could be stories as well. Whatever the imagination of the individual that created it. And she would oversee accepting material into the libraries.
Was there a name for this library, like a central library that it had a specific name?
And the closest I can come to would be something like the central station of learning.
I see. When you were young, was that your favorite place to go, the library on Lemuria?
Oh, and I want to add maybe applied studies, something to that in that nature would be similar to the name of what we had.
What would you and Italia do as youngsters on Lemuria for entertainment, for fun?
There was fishing because of the waters. There was fishing. We would do fishing and go fishing together. We would also play games as well to pass the time when we were not in school or studying or learning. So we would do those things.
What kind of games did you play?
We would also make up stories as well. We would come up with parts of the story and create one together using our imaginations. And we might act them out as well, much like your Earth children do.
Do you remember any favorite stories you would tell to each other?
We were connected to the night sky. And if you can imagine, it was like seeing a light show and a billion of stars in the sky. So many times we would tell stories about the stars. The Hunter was one such story where we would talk. I remember that about the Hunter, probably because I liked his bow and arrow and thought he was powerful.
So you would like to go stargazing together at the stars?
Oh, yes, everybody liked stargazing. There would be events just for stargazing at the nighttime. And people would just watch the night sky. That in of itself was fun. You do not do that on your planet, but very few do. But it was an event where people would just watch the night sky and see what was up there, because we were very connected to the world outside us as well, being that we were from the stars.
Were you able to see other planets really easily at that time? Other ships?
Yes, because our eyes were not your eyes, so we were able to see much more with more preciseness. Our bodies were different in that sense. As I told you, our systems were different if we wanted to be in physical form. In pure light, in consciousness, there is none. But when you are in that physical form, then you are as not physical like I told you before, but our eyes were much more attuned to the night and to the darkness because it was one of the things that brought us pleasure was to do that.
Going back to that question of becoming a physical being, I was curious yesterday what it felt like when you were in that state if you don't have bones or skin. For really, what were the sensations like when you took a physical form?
The sensations were similar to the sensations that you might have. the feeling of cold or warmth. We could feel temperature if we wanted to. We could feel the sun on our skin, as you might say. We could feel the coolness of the ocean. We could taste the salt of the water. But it was in a different way that you will not understand. The closest is like the feeling of when your wind passes over your skin is the closest I can tell you of how the feeling it is in our bodies.
And you wouldn't feel pain, is that right?
No, there was no need for pain. We did not have physical bodies.
Right. That's just a concept that's hard for Earth humans to imagine. It's so amazing.
That is because of the denseness of your body.
Yes.
The denseness of your body causes pain. The denseness of your mind causes pain. The denseness of your spirit causes pain. And so pain is something that is not, it is of the dark, it is of the, when we say pain, it is also fear, it is also suffering. And so when you don't have to live that way, why would you live that way? We choose not to if we cannot do that, right? So, but we existed for the pure pleasure of life and enjoying life. And that is what your planet fails to understand, this gift of life, this gift of enjoying just the preciousness of the life that they were given and just being happy.
So there was no physical disease on Lemuria, or
No, there was no physical disease. There was no need. Again, no density.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my early channeling video with Morenae. I was just learning how to even use my vocal cords at that time to have Morenae speak through me. But if you have any questions for Morenae, please put them down in the comments below and I'll be happy to ask him. And also, if you have any insights into Lemuria or anything you want to add or any ahas or any connections that you had while listening to Morenae about Lemuria, please add that in the comments below because it's pretty fascinating information. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe and share. And remember, till next time, you are the light, so let it shine.